Welcome back to Buckeye Country Cooks. Today we're going to make a homemade pecan pie. So let's get started. Today's video is going to be the making of a pecan pie. I've got my pecan pie dish, which has a recipe on the inside, but I don't generally use it. But I'm starting with a Pillsbury frozen pie crust that I've already thawed, and I'm going to put it in my pie pan. And I'm just gonna make it fit. Make sure it's kind of even on all sides, because I don't want one side to be shorter than the other. And you just want to work gently with it because you don't want to stretch it. And you want to make sure it gets tucked in, and then just work it around the top. And you might have to adjust it a little bit, a couple of times to get it even. But like I said, you want it even so that it's equal all the way around. And then just push it down into your pie pan. I've got my oven preheated at 350 degrees. And I'm just gonna work it around. And then I'm going to crimp it. And I'm gonna do this kind of in two stages because I'm gonna make sure my pie crust is all the way around my pie shell. And then I'll go back and crimp it. But right now I'm trying to make sure everything is equal. And this is a deep dish, 9-inch deep dish pie. So it's gonna be deep dish, the recipe that I'm gonna use. So you just go down through here and it's pretty much even. So now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna crimp it. And you just pinch it and then push it through with your finger. And that's what gives it that homemade look. Because it's not a store-bought. Well, it's a store-bought crust, but it's easier for me just to buy these than to make a pie crust. Makes it look rustic, and I like rustic looking pies. And I tend to like my ceramic. This is actually Pioneer Woman pie pan. And it's ceramic. And so there's my pie crust. And I'm making sure it's pushed up in all corners and flat on the bottom. I don't want any bubbles on the bottom of my pie crust. And up to the sides. So I'm gonna go around and make sure that's not got any air pockets in it. So there we go. So now I'm gonna put some parchment paper in there. And I'm going to weight it down with some peas, some beans. Because I don't have any pie weights. I need to buy me some pie weights, but I'm going to pre-bake this to keep it from bubbling up and to keep it from getting soggy. I don't like a soggy pie crust. So I'm going to put a sheet of parchment paper in here, and I'm going to let it bake for about 15 minutes while I put my other stuff together. So I'm just going to put that in there. And if you have pie weights, you can put pie weights in here, but I just use beans because I don't have any pie weights. I need to get me some, but I don't have any. So, and this is all going to come out after it pre-bakes. And it just keeps it from bubbling up. And I spread them out. Make sure it's all the way against the side. And I'm going to pop it in the oven I'm going to fold that over so that it stays down. I don't want it to touch the top of my oven either. So I'm going to pop this in my oven. For about 15 minutes, okay? And that was a Pillsbury pie crust, pre-made pie crust. Okay, so now in a large mixing bowl, we're gonna put 1 cup of dark brown sugar. 1 cup dark brown sugar. And then we're gonna put 3 eggs. But before I do my eggs, I'm gonna whisk my eggs really good because I want them to be incorporated. The eggs, and it's the eggs and the egg whites, and I let my eggs come to room temperature before I cook with them. So I'm gonna mix them together till they're light and fluffy. Some people use a stand mixer for this. I usually don't, because, especially when I'm filming, because it's too noisy. But I'm gonna mix them for about 2 minutes. Okay, so that's about good. And I'm gonna put them in there with the 1 cup of brown sugar. And I'm gonna mix it up really good. Just whisk it around. Mix it together till it's well incorporated. Make sure it doesn't have any lumps. Some recipes use white sugar. I don't use white sugar because it tends to make the pie really, really sweet. Okay, now to that, I've got 1/3 cup of salted butter. And I'm gonna melt this in the microwave because you want it to be where you can melt to pour it in. So I'm gonna melt that right quick. And then I also have 1 cup of light corn syrup. I have 1/4 cup of vanilla. It smells so good. This is Mexican vanilla extract. I have a friend that goes to Mexico and picks up stuff and he brings me back vanilla. And this stuff lasts forever, but it's pure vanilla extract. And then I also have 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. I know you're thinking cinnamon in a pecan pie? What? What's going on with that? I got distracted with my butter. My butter's a little hot, so I'm gonna have to get a rag and get it out. And of course, I'm gonna have to let my butter cool because you don't want to put your hot butter in with your eggs because you will end up with scrambled eggs. So that's gonna have to cool a little bit. But I use cinnamon. Pour the rest of these eggs in there. We got a little bit more eggs in with my, because it brings out the flavors of the pie. It really does. It brings out the flavors. Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and put my vanilla in here. My teaspoon of vanilla. While my butter's cooling. And then I'm gonna put my whole cup of corn syrup. And it's light corn syrup. You can use dark corn syrup. I guess it's just a preference. Some years I make it with light corn syrup. Some years I make it with dark corn syrup. But I think if you make it with a dark corn syrup, you really should use maybe the white sugar, granulated sugar, instead of the brown sugar. And I'm gonna mix that up. And then I'm gonna add my cinnamon. 1/2 teaspoon. You don't want to get too much because you don't want your pie to taste like a cinnamon pie. But the cinnamon really brings out the flavor of the pie. The butter's cooling down. While that continues to cool down, I'm going to put these in the sink. Okay, our butter has cooled. So now we're going to pour our 1/4 cup, 2/3 cup of melted butter over into our pie. And don't splash yourself like I did. That's why it's good to have a wet rag close. Anyway, you just mix your butter in with your batter till it's all incorporated. And you don't see, because you see there's a ring of butter around the outside, and you don't want that. You want it to be all incorporated to where it's all mixed really good, and it's that nice dark brown consistency. You don't see the butter separated. The butter's not separated anymore, because when I first poured it in, it was separated. Oh, it looks so good already. But it has to cook, so. Okay, and now I'm gonna fold in a cup of chopped pecans. You could use more if you like it. I just don't like a whole lot of pecans. You could do 1.5 cups. My husband prefers less pecans, so I try to do just a cup. Because you don't want to get too many pecans, because if you get too many pecans, it's hard to chew it, and it gets a little time consuming. So now, we've got that ready. So now, we're gonna put these in the sink, and we're gonna wait for our pie crust, because remember I said I was gonna bake the pie crust off for 15 minutes. So we'll be back as soon as that pie crust is done. Okay, our pie crust has baked off, and it has cooled completely to the touch on the inside. My pan is still a little hot because it's a ceramic pan, but as you can see, the pie crust is, I can touch it. So now we're going to stir our mix, make sure our pecans are good and coated. And I did go back and add 1/3 cup of pecans because 1 cup for me was just not enough. So now I'm gonna bring this over here. I'll take it off of that now. And we're gonna pour our mixture into our pie crust. All that yummy goodness. Oh, it's gonna be so good. It smells so good. Good quality vanilla makes a difference. So get some good vanilla. Don't get cheap vanilla, because it makes a difference. It really does. So now we are ready to place it in a 350-degree oven for 35 to 45 minutes. It's jiggly now. When your pie's done, it should not jiggle like that. It should be firm. So we're gonna put it into our preheated 350-degree oven for 35 to 45 minutes. We're gonna set the timer. I set it for 45 minutes, but I will come back and check it in 35 minutes. Okay, it's been 45 minutes. Let's pull it out and see what it looks like. Oh, wow. Beautiful.